Hay una sociedad andina de respeto a la naturaleza, de la adoración de las montañas, del valor de la Pachamama que nos alimenta. Pienso que es un mundo ignorado, que la gente de la ciudad no lo ve, no lo siente.
Me imagino siempre que veo terrazas, una persona muy grande, una persona protectora y que puedo mirarle cara a cara a los ojos. En cada zona montañosa del mundo hay terrazas maravillosas. Estas coinciden con momentos en que la agricultura estuvo en su apogeo. ¿Y cómo se nota el apogeo de la agricultura? Por la calidad de los suelos, la tierra que está en esas terrazas, acumuladas, criadas por miles de generaciones. Y cada sistema de terrazas que ha emergido de la civilización agrícola ha dado lugar a grandes civilizaciones como la incaica, la mexicana, la china. Son civilizaciones que han involucrado muchos arreglos multiétnicos. Las montañas también son puntos de coincidencias maravillosas, no solamente sociales y de saberes, sino de una base biológica que por las diferencias de temperatura son proclives a que haya una multiplicidad de cultivos.
La maravilla de las variedades de papas, las variedades de maíces que hemos visto, las variedades de arroz en Asia o tanto cultivo que ha salido de las montañas. Siento una cercanía, una simpatía, un amor por estas vivencias, las comunidades que mantienen vivo la tierra.
Lo que ha pasado con la agricultura y con los saberes agrícolas y con el saber de la gente es que la ciencia le ha borrado, le ha tachado la poesía que contienen esos saberes. A la gente que cultiva la tierra se le ha quitado su dignidad. Y por eso de todas partes del mundo vienen los movimientos de soberanía alimentaria, donde la primera cosa que se quiere recuperar es la dignidad de la actividad agrícola. El comer no es solamente ligado a la sobrevivencia material, está ligado a nuestra identidad, está ligado a nuestra trascendencia, a nuestra propia divinidad, porque no solamente comemos para sobrevivir y comemos para ser lo que somos, sino que también trascendemos. Y ese es el gran misterio de la agricultura.
Pasaron los años más o menos allá por el año 1972. El general Juan Velasco Alvarado, como ustedes saben, programó la construcción del canal de Majes para llevar de Condoroma hasta las pampas de Majes 1. Majes 1 produce leche por producto de pan llevar para nuestra región. Cuando se construyó el canal, la empresa no dejó ni una ventana en nuestro territorio. Entonces, ¿qué hemos hecho nosotros? Se abrió pues con un trabajo comunal, más o menos de un mes. Se tuvo que perforar el canal a base de cincel y combo. Y en un promedio de más o menos de 20 a 30 días sacamos un poco de agua. Y de esa forma logramos que el gobierno oficialice la cantidad de agua necesaria para cada pueblo. En la región de Arequipa, el mejor productor en maíz es Cabanaconde. Ahí está nuestro pan, el maíz. No compramos muchas veces pan, comemos maíz en todos los platos. A mí me parece que hace 40, 50 años, a pesar de que teníamos problemas de escasez de alimentos, las condiciones naturales del agro eran mejores. Hace 40, 50 años aquí no había ningún anciano pidiendo limosna, ahora sí hay acá. Si usted conversa con un centro de salud, el jefe de salud le va a informar cuántos niños desnutridos hay en Cabanaconde. Ahí se nota que hay problemas en el Perú, pues. Entonces para mí, no sé, la verdad, yo quisiera otro sistema, ¿no? Este sistema ha caducado, no sirve para nada, este sistema que gobierna en el mundo no sirve.
Thank you, Hermann, for that very moving and beautifully shot short video. I'm now formally offering to carry your bags the next time you visit that place. I'll go along as your mule. It's really, really striking. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everybody to this, the fifth of the lectures in the online Where the Disciplines Meet, Landscape is Where the Disciplines Meet series of talks for 2022. And this is the last talk before the summer break. We started on the 15th of February with Ellen Fetzer, and moving on in March to Bert de Roo, in April, Joe Booner, in May, Daniela Colafranceschi, and it's really been a fantastic series so far. We're really looking forward to hearing what you have to say in this talk to me. And I'm going to pass over to Tessa, who will formally introduce you and your respondent. And then I'll come back to you after the talk. I see somebody wants to get your attention, Timmy, there in the background. So maybe you need to attend to that. So Tessa.
Thank you, Connor, and thank you, Timmy, for this wonderful video and for being with us today. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this fifth meeting of the Where Discipline Meets lecture. In this case, is dedicated to diversity of knowledge systems in terraced landscape, clue for sustainability. Today, it's a great pleasure for us to have here Timmy TILLMANN and Luczka Acma-Momiński. Tim is the coordinator of ITLA, so International Terraced Landscape Alliance, and Luczka from the University of Ljubljana in Slovenia is the scientific coordinator of the Alliance. I think it's important for us to remind that ITLA has a long-time relationship with UNISCAP, with our network. We have often organized joint events and also activated important synergies over the years. For example, we can recall the Fourth World Congress on Terraced Landscape in 2019, which has been organized in La Gomera, Canary Island, and coordinated by Timmy with the crucial work of Lucca, and also our UNISCAPE president, Juan Manuel Palermo. And I know that ITLA is now working for the 2023 event. Maybe you can anticipate something about that. And we must also highlight that the International Terraced Landscape Alliance participates as observers, official observer at the UNISCAPE General Assembly. Now, just a few words to introduce the profiles of our guests. So, TILLMANN is an agricultural anthropologist. He's specialized in indigenous knowledge systems with ethnic groups in Asia, particularly Eastern Himalayas, and in Latin America. And his research focuses on agricultural systems like shifting cultivation and terrace agriculture. Lucca, she's an architect. She worked as a registered architect since 1988. She's also professor of architecture and urban design since 2010 at the University of Ljubljana. She has published chapters in the Springer Network publisher edition, title dedicated to Slovenian terrace landscapes 2019 and models of terrace landscape regeneration in the case of Slovenia, also in this case 2019. She's, as previously said, she's also the scientific coordinator of the International Terrace Landscape Alliance. In this role, she's also editor-in-chief of the Journal of Terrace Landscape, so the Art of Terrace Landscape Journal, and the International Terrace Landscape Alliance Journal. So we are very glad to have both you here today. So Timmy, the floor is yours. So we are looking very much forward to hearing to your communication. You can share your screen with the same procedure.
Timmy, don't forget to unmute your mic.
Okay, now?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. But it's not running. So just referring to the Bhutan 2024 Fifth Congress on Terraced landscapes, we are shifting it back because we could not travel until now to Bhutan for the preparation of the Congress. And this fifth Congress, we hope that we can do it in 2024. 1 second, I cannot run this thing.
Now it runs.
Yeah, I'm running back quickly. So, okay, here's the starting point. I think you are still watching also the line, but it doesn't matter. So, diversity of knowledge systems, terraced landscapes, clue for sustainability. Thank you so much for allowing us to present the ideas and the work of ITLA. This will have been prepared together with Maruja. We both have been involved in all the previous congresses, starting 2010 in China and 2019 together with Juanma Palerm in the Canary Islands and Madeira. We are also research fellows at Coventry University. And I am also working as advisor for an NGO in Peru, which is the Centro Bartolomé Las Casas, who organized the second Congress. The mountains are the origin of agriculture, the domestication of agriculture, and in the symbol of the I Ching, which is the combination, this is the sign for mountain. It's a combination of male and female, it's up and down, it's the slopes, and this sign is about 5,000 years old. And that's nearly the time, about 3,000 before Christ, that the rice was domesticated in near the Yangtze River in South China. The mountains have a very important role. This is the Huascarán in Peru, nearly 7,000 meters altitude. And for the people, these are the Apus, the mountain gods which protect. So you always depend on the, let's say, the caring of the mountains. You have to dialogue with them so that they protect your animals and your fields. You have to rely on these mountain gods and also on the water and on the Pachamama, on the Mother Earth. The mountainous regions are the cradles of the terraces. Origin of agriculture about 10,000 years ago, but we have data that indicate 5,000 years of rice on terraces in China. The terraces 6,000 years in Yemen, which has been signed as one of the oldest. Peru is 4,000 years, the Mediterranean is 4,000 years, and even Madeira and the Canary Islands, their terraces have an age of 2,000 years. And the mountains, they link to the 8 Vavilov centers of domestication. 25% of the earth are mountains, and the terrace landscapes coincide with these centers. So here is, of course, South America, Peru, there's Mexico, the Mediterranean, Ethiopia, then Persia, Southeast Asia, and China as very important centers for, we call it also the axiom of biocultural diversity, because these areas, they also have the origin of different plant varieties. And the crops which come, and we all know we all use them. Today, it's all global because the Italian pizza would not be possible without the tomato from and chili from Mexico. And Ireland would not be living on potatoes if they would not have adapted the potato from Peru. Oh, we have the rice. We have so many products which we have been created, a lot of them in terraced areas. Now, the terraced landscapes, we speak about the disenchantment of the terraced landscapes, be it that they are abandoned, there is pollution, there is a use of terraces which seems to me absurd. In Tenerife, they cultivate strawberries on terraces, but the strawberries don't touch more because of the migration of the younger people and an overage of the farmers there. This disenchantment leads to the erosion of local seeds, a growing dependence from the agro-industry, which offers the Terminator seed. It's biopiracy, the destruction of biodiversity, and there is an increasing impact on the local cultures that the generations, the transfer of knowledge between the generations is missing. So there's knowledge which is lost in the local communities, and also it's an impact on food and the consequences of malnutrition. The extractive industries, they go into the mountains, they take a control over water and land, even violently against the peasant communities, even killing the leaders, and they present contamination of the soil and the water. Another problem is migration, as I mentioned. It's affecting family life, the social cooperation, the knowledge transfer, the land and biodiversity conservation, and leading more and more that the women who stay back get in charge of the food production because the men are going out. And it's the older generation who stay. And we have a colonized mind. We think in development models of modernization, of more production. We think on that science is universal and valid everywhere, not realizing that it has bias towards certain values, urban and policy ignorance towards the mountains, monologue. We think that development models are styled from people who live on plains and in cities. They think that terraces are backward, they are growing up the slopes, they have gone to the slopes because they didn't find plain lands. And we know it's the opposite. These are the best lands, what are terraces, because they control erosion, they control the sun and rain, they offer best conditions to keep the soil and have high quality products, which we nowadays enjoy. And all these different world systems, they have led to a diversity of knowledge systems. And here we have a collection which did Donatella Murtas from ITLA, Italy, about the different names which exist for terraces worldwide. So it's all different languages. We calculate more than 6,000 ethnic groups in the world, and those who live in the mountains, they are living on small areas and small communities in valleys. They have a lot of diverse languages and names for the terraces, and this leads also to diversity of knowledge. 2010, we founded ITLA in Mengzi in Honghe in China, with about 50 Chinese and international participants, scholars and activists. And then we started to involve the local farmers, the ethnic groups, into the discussions on terraces. So our principle from the beginning has been to give voice to the local farmers, men and women. And ITLA, since then, it's an alliance of networks. It's not an international institution. It's just a movement of local initiatives. Each network has their own foundations and constitutions. So some are loose networks, others are established associations, like ITLA Italy is now APS, which can create, for example, the Italian dry stone school and be recognized as a school who can certify dry stone bowlers, for example. So it's a Living Networks Alliance. And we have about 310 members in 35 countries on all continents. Diversity is the key in indigenous knowledge systems that can be translated in the aspiration of the people towards cognitive justice, which means the recognition of the plurality of knowledge forms and livelihoods to coexist peacefully in this globalized world. So terraces give us a possibility for the local people to cultivate their cultures, their technology, and to maintain their local identity and not become just globalized form. We have a lot to learn from the traditional societies. For example, this is Moray in Peru, where the Incas had an experimentation place. They could, in this huge area, they could reproduce the different ecological conditions in their region, in whole Peru, and select maize varieties which could fit into the different ecological systems. Each terrace, each area had a different temperature, and we know that corn needs certain kind of temperature to grow. So they could here reproduce local conditions and decide when to sow the rice, the maize, and in which seed would be for which region. We also, today, we have, these are drawings from peasants in Moyobamba in Apurimac about their terrace landscape, and they draw their community, and they are proud to show, for example, in this map about the different regions in their community, the richness of their land, their land, the Mother Earth, which gives them animals and food, and they are proud about these possibilities. Yuanyang is in Red River, where the first Congress was held in 2010, shows immense area in the ITLA Mountains of terraces, mostly for rice production, but also for small fish and medicinal plants and taro, etc. And they have created marvelous landscapes. And during the Congress, it were the women who explained their role in terrace landscape, adding a special element to the Congress, which had a group of activists and scientists discussing, but also a group of peasants. And they concluded, when the people from outside, they criticized a lot about the tourism policy of the government, and the to the needs and interests of the local farmers who, for example, appreciate very much their local seeds, but the government wants to have modern hybrid seeds introduced, which have not the same taste. And the farmers said, when they concluded, they said, it was so nice to have you here because you could say what we are not able to say in public. We have the Ifugao complex agricultural system in Philippines with 8 different production systems, from shifting cultivation to terraces, home gardens, forests, etc. And this is all in the hands, in the minds of the local Ifugao people. Or look here in Bhutan, this country is, their agricultural production is all happening on terraces. And it's it's not only rice what they produce, also for their national dish, which they produce the chilies and the onions, etc. And their cosmovision is very much linked to this image of supine demoness, which they have to dominate by, if you see the picture, you can see the temples on their different extremities, because these temples are there to dominate this supine demoness, which can destroy and be against life and the agricultural production. So the temples have a very strong relation to tame nature in this kind of the demoness. We have the Suonen system of water irrigation in Valais in Switzerland, which is also an incredible creation to make possible the wine production in this Swiss area. So terraces are really a treasure of knowledge about how to handle nature in a way that benefits food and drinks of the people. We work with the testimonies of the farmers in the communities, which show how, for example, climate change has affected the communities, how the production was 50 years ago and how is it now. When I studied for my PhD in 1982, the farmers already said that the climate has changed in a way that it's not anymore predictable how they could do this before. So the signs were not correct anymore, because and they were saying, yes, because the North Americans, they have gone to the moon. So they have destroyed the moon because they look at the moon to see when it is raining, when it's dry. And you think, that's a strange interpretation, but actually we know now that all this industrial system has produced the climate chaos. Also, this winning of salt in the terraces in Maras in Peru is also a wonderful creation by the in the history before the Inca. The dry stone wallers, the stone masons, they have been recognized by UNESCO as very important intangible heritage. And there are now many, many schools to reconstruct the terraces, because the owners know of the benefit. If they keep the walls, they can have much higher quality and better production. For example, here in Germany with wine, and masters who teach several times per year. And this is also in France, in Italy, in Mallorca, in Peru, that there are courses to teach people, younger people also, to reconstruct walls. Or the knowledge of women on food. This lady, she collected in 1 hour with us about 60 different plants which are edible, and which the younger people who accompanied us from the local government, they said, yeah, they had heard about it, but they were not using it. So there is a richness, even in the rice terraces, of very different food crops. Colca Valley in Peru, it's we saw in the video also, it's the cradle of the corn domestication in Peru, with many, many different varieties and specific forms and colors and tastes. In Bali, Indonesia, this temple water system for the rice irrigation, it's ritualized, but also a deep knowledge about the ecology, because it's the temples who decide for the season on rice production. This here is an area in Kyushu in the south of Japan, where these fields produce the rice which is exclusive for the emperor. So you also have traditions, customs, and very specific knowledge to produce the best and healthy food for the people, which is controlled by a ghost who is sitting on the terrace and controlling to defend against any pests. So envisioning, these are results from the congresses also, this from Peru, that people say we need an alliance. The family has to take again responsibility for the fields, the community has to work together, but we also need to have a worldwide alliance to reproduce and recreate our fields for the best crops and foods. This is the case in Nagaoka in Japan. These were rice fields, but then there was a big flood, and since then they have started to They started to produce fish, koi fish, for the world market on these slopes, specializing in fish breeding. Or here, a young group of students from an agricultural school in Ischia developing ideas about how to reuse the terraces which have been abandoned. And they are trying to stay in their island. This was during the third Congress in 2016. So Bhutan 2024, the idea is to discuss about the widening our horizons and decolonizing our mind about terraced landscapes, and to think about a different development concept based in gross national happiness, or what in the Andean countries it's called the summa causa, the well-being of the people, and not only modernization and more production, etc. We are developing intercultural methodologies. That means alternatives of development based on local knowledge and cosmovisions, creating spaces of co-creation and a collective action against what Boaventura de Sousa Santos calls the epistemicide, that the world system is trying to kill the local knowledge system. So we have such a richness of knowledge, and we should defend the epistemes. 2019, the Congress this is in La Gomera, was titled Re-Enchanting Terraced Landscapes. And this comes because there was a disenchantment of nature, and we have to find a new way to deal with Mother Earth and with the mountain gods, to link a different way to nature. There exist different initiatives. For example, the terrace adoption in Valstania, the ownership program of Tonara in Japan, the terrace routes and guides in Canary Islands, reconstructing terraces in Tacna in Peru, documentation center for elders in Banaue, and dry stone wall courses. So we have many possibilities, and trying to establish the network to exchange between the diverse groups worldwide. Thank you. I can stop sharing. So.
Thank you, Timmy, for your very inspiring rich, intense, and inspiring presentation. And now I suppose we have Luchka as a respondent discussant. So Luchka, I don't know if you have a presentation or not.
No, I don't have presentation.
Okay. So we listen.
Do you hear me? Is it okay, the connection? Yeah, you can hear me.
Fine.
Okay. So actually, 11,000 years ago, people first built terraces to then put their huts in which they lived in them. And at that time, people were mainly hunters. And later on, then those terraces became also agricultural terraces. And so the agricultural terraces are one of man's oldest adaptations of harsh living conditions. What we have seen, what Timmy has shown with images from all over the world, for example, seen also in the movie. I mean, imagine in those times that people constructed terraces in the complete slope from the bottom to the up of the mountain. It's not only one of the oldest, but it's also one of the most efficient adaptations because people succeeded in making large sloping areas productive. And they conserved soil, they conserved water, and they also conserved ecosystems. And so terraced landscapes are, I think, worldwide exemplary experimentation sites for the domestication of food crops. What we've seen in Moray in Peru is one of outstanding examples of that, but that doesn't mean that in different forms didn't happen elsewhere. So if we talk about the sustainability, I think that sustainability has been embedded in terraced landscapes from the very beginning, because erosion was prevented, land use was diversified, there was biodiversity was enriched, water was used, water was diverted, like in honey terraces in China, for example, a fantastic example of how people, together with nature, not against the nature, but together with the nature, were able to use these natural resources. So I think this if you would like, ecological sustainability is really closely connected with terraced landscapes. I think we mainly when doing work or research on terraced landscapes, we focus on two premises. And one is the thing I explained already, so that the terrace is a kind of a model of sustainability, of ecological sustainability. And the second one, which I think I will mostly define then further on, is that actors who are involved in terraced landscapes, they play supporting and they play a crucial role in this process of terraced landscapes. And it doesn't matter either they are residents in the terraced landscapes or they are also builders of terraced areas. So I think what Timmy tried to show, and this is something also ITLA and all the activities connected with ITLA is underlining, is that we would like to emphasize the role of the protagonist of the local actors and of their knowledge heritage, because there's a knowledge heritage what they bring to us. And it's also another perspective is this perspective of the perspective of mountains versus perspective of plain. Yeah, this division, there are different problems in the mountains and they are solved in a different way. So I think when we talk about the resilience and about the sustainability in the terraced landscapes, we really talk about people. And that's, I think, the main message of what Timmy was trying to present, in my opinion. But terraces also change. I mean, they change. There is an inevitable change. There always was a change in the past, in the present, in the future. There are different factors that influence the change because there is a global economics, there's climate change, local influences like depopulation, de-intensification, the development of new ways how to maintain, how to construct terraces. So this is also all influencing also the terraced landscapes, because it's influencing the forms of terraces, so the physical forms of terraces. It is also influencing the social networks. There are different lifestyles popping up, and it's also influencing the production. Yeah, because we have this from this self-sustaining economy, self-sufficiency to market economy. So this is something, for example, I think dealing with terraced landscapes, we should very carefully at present and in the future evaluate those changes. Another thing which I would like to stress is that terraced landscapes are so-called productive landscapes or working landscapes. And they are connecting out of two notions. One is the place itself, and the other one is the partnership of the community, of the association of people together. And that's something, for example, this is also kind of a knowledge that is partly forgotten because people in the past constructed terraces very differently than they do it today. Today, everything is very much individualized, and the community somehow is lost out of the perspective. Yeah, another thing is that when we talk about the productive landscapes, they have the terraced landscapes as productive landscapes. They have the character of the vernacular because this is associated with the process in which they were created. But actually, if we look at them, they really have a character of the extraordinary. So there's a kind of tension between the process in which they were constructed and between the result which we see when we look at the terraced landscapes. Because terraced landscapes as agricultural landscapes, they are considered to be one of the most beautiful, one of the most appealing landscapes in the world. And they are exceptional human creations, and they, as such, they have also supported civilizations to endure. And they were, I think this also leads to the terminology or to the considerations of decolonizing the mind. Because Timmy said in the beginning, this world is kind of ignored. The world of the terraced landscapes is a kind of ignored world. There is difference, definitely. The process in which they were constructed, it's different. And that's why sometimes they can be stigmatized, they can be, there is perhaps an undesirable difference between other landscapes and terraced landscapes. But on the other hand, there can be also a kind of covert and unconcealed imitation of terraced landscapes. So the recognition of the phenomenon of terraced landscapes is sometimes difficult because of that reason. I think I will conclude with the activities which already Timmy mentioned. I will expand a little bit that. So in this way, to enrich this diversity of the local events, we also started to prepare so-called European Day of Terraced Landscapes, which was the first one in 2019 in Slovenia. And for the preparation of the 5th Congress, we are also considering different ways how to involve terrace builders, guardians, how to engage them in local activities, in workshops, how to envision the local caravans, which would move from one village to the other village, from one region to the other, from country to country. So all in an effort to activate people to become more engaged and involved. And we hope that with this kind of local caravans, we would bring together the voices of different farmers, the different cultivators, builders, stone woolers, and so on. And also the different issues and this indigenous knowledge that help them to maintain and safeguard those terraced landscapes for centuries would pop out or would become more visible. And so we consider the next Congress in Bhutan as a kind of a celebration of the worldwide collective creativity, which would lead even to greater diversity. So the goal is, I think, even greater diversity. And I think this is also the aim of the enchantment we are moving towards. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia, also for these valuable remarks and suggestions. And I think that both the presentation provided by Timmy and this set of precision and suggestion provided by Lucia could trigger a discussion, because I found many many issues of interest. So I would leave the floor to Connor to activate the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd like to add my thanks to the two speakers as well, and open the floor now to questions or comments. I think the best thing to do if you have a question or a comment, if you just turn on your mic and start talking, and then if there's somebody talking and you want to come in next, you just raise your hand if you have that facility on your version of Zoom, then use it. Otherwise, just put your hand up like I am here. I'll see you in the background. So does anyone would like to start off with a question or a comment? Yes, Chiara.
Thank you. I have experienced in my research progress that one of the main factors of abandonment in productive landscapes is the lack of services for the young generations. So I was wondering if you think that the work that you made with the communities, creating interest and synergies, could be applied to other kinds of productive landscapes that are currently facing abandonment, and how?
Yeah, Connor is running away, I think. Chiara, we see that there are many initiatives of people to keep rural areas alive and attractive. For example, this program Adopt a Terrace in Valbrenta, which it's the villages of Alstania, etc. Adotta un terrazzamento is an initiative of young and middle-aged people to regain the access to clean the land, because if you have terraces which are completely covered, for people it's not interesting. No, they drive through and they say, no, here we won't stop, it's too dark, you don't see the landscape, you see only forest. And when you clean this and you have all these structures and the local production, that makes it attractive and people stay and can eat the local food. So we see this in different parts, that they get engaged to make medicinal herbs, to produce food for the local restaurants. A Moroccan who is planting mint for his small restaurant and not imported from Morocco. And they are very much engaged, and they are starting to create an attraction with local art. They do the walkway of the art and art festivals. So it's attracting people from the cities to come there. And when we went there last time, there were a group of people coming from the city to say, we want to live here in a different condition. Especially with COVID, it has happened that people say, it's dangerous to be in the cities. Let's go out, let's go back, back to our fathers, grandfathers, and to our lands. And this has been a revival. We also see in Peru, not all villages have been abandoned. In COVID times, also people in the cities, they lost their jobs, there was no work, they went walking back to their communities and started to cultivate the land because they were hungry. They said, we need to produce ourselves something because we can't earn money, there is not enough production. So we have the possibilities, we have treasure there. So there are, and the video you saw from this incredible landscape, these are communities very far away from the city. It takes about 12 hours to drive there. And the small capital of this province, they have internet, etc. But in the villages, they are still keeping the different generations together. They have large schools, they practice the rituals to the mountains, and it's a living community. And I think this is important, that also with the progress of, let's say, communications and so, younger people feel, oh, it can be better if we even stay there, because we can have some benefits of civilization, but also keep the safe area and the healthy environment and the healthy food. So I think there are lots of examples of new forms, not the, let's say, the traditional families. For example, I went in November to a restored village of a collective group of people of different ages reconstructing a hamlet, which is Vielle-aux-Dents in the Ardèche, and it's you cannot reach by car to this place. You have to walk. They offer youth camps, and there's a group of 20 to 30 people who have reconstructed this in the last 15 years. So I think there are options of this re-enchantment, of this living again on with Mother Earth, with the local production, and to have joy in this, to feel this makes more sense in life than being just in the city. I think there are many examples for this, but you can become member of ITLA. Membership is free, so.
Thank you.
Would you like to come back on that, Chiara, at all, or?
I was wondering if there's some kind of a balance between the lack of service and the benefits, and Timmy perfectly explained this phenomena.
Mm. I think I share your concerns, though, and everybody here does too, that these are small shoots that we're holding on to, where the future of places that are perceived as anachronistic is lying in the hands of small actors, very conscientious actors who are driven, either local people or immigrants coming in, as you said to me. And is there enough momentum generated by that to really create a future, or are there other forces at play? I'll leave that hanging because I saw Mark. You waved your hands, Mark.
I want to say something about this. We have to see that science is progressing, and in our university in Coventry, they are working on quantum agriculture. This means to see what is the influence of the different waves into agriculture. How does it influence people, land, etc.? An agronomist, maybe 50 years ago, 30 years ago, when we were working in the fields in Peru, and the farmers would look at the moon and would say, oh, the Pleiades, they say, tell this and this. So they were working with the cosmos. The agronomist would say, oh, this is nonsense. No, this is superstition. And now science is coming to identify new ways and looking into this indigenous knowledge. And we were at the Millennium Conference in Alexandria in 2000 with a group of peasant farmers from all over the world, and we were discussing about this. And the scientists from the Millennium, they said, let's look into this indigenous people's knowledge because we may use it. And I was saying, no, it's not that you use it. It's a way of establishing a dialogue and work together, because they have wisdom, they have knowledge which we don't have. They have experience over generations. And this is important to consider and not marginalize it and say, oh, these are ignorance, etc. So there's a lot of work to do in education, that recognizes the value of the local systems, and that young people get to know about this. On the other side, there is modernization, which makes, I mean, in Germany, the life in the cities is getting so expensive that people are going to live in the countryside. And I heard just a week ago from someone in a wine terrace area that they have been discussing in the community, and they have been doing, to assign areas to clean together so that they reconstruct the wine terraces. It's, of course, it's economically, it's nonsense because you do a lot of effort to do this, and at the end you have some bottles of wine, and it doesn't, there's no equivalent of the investment you do with labor and the result you have, but you are proud about it and you have your own. No? So I think there are many processes where we can do something. But one idea is about this wisdom dialogue between farmers and scientists.
Yeah, I didn't mean to sound a pessimistic note. We have the same problem. I look out the window here, there's farmland either side of me. I live entirely surrounded by farms, but the people who work on those farms work in the city as well. They have 2 jobs, and that's sustainable for younger people who don't want to feel as though the world and life is passing them by. But when you go to very remote areas, that becomes a much stronger challenge. And I think what you've said there speaks to the importance of the valorization of the knowledge and wisdom at a higher level. And so when people who make the lifestyle choice to stay there and to continue in what are traditional practices, that they also have a sense that they're contributing to a global dialogue, that they're not stepping off the bus of life, that they're actually there making an important difference into the future. I mean, it is a delicate balance. Anyway, I've spoken enough. Mark, did I see you waving your hands at one point, or was that Mark Goossens? No? No, he doesn't have a question. Is anybody else? So Sasha, you have your hand up, and then Margarita.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I cannot avoid compliments. It's impossible. It was, thank you for this really outstanding opportunity. It was not just knowledge, but also poetry, because it was really representing an alternative way to our too much muscular ways of domestication of Earth. And this lecture was a sort of landscape alphabetization lecture, at least for me. Thank you also, Lučka, for underlying this combination that tradition and innovation are not one against other. There is this soft innovation that runs parallel with technological, social, economic, and is able to design extraordinary from ordinary everyday gestures. It's not really just ecological, but also social sustainability, because these areas are probably managed in terms of commons. So the term property doesn't say anything there. It's the term of use, knowledge of those that are using, that really matters. So it's really a kind of fundamental lecture to understand also possible future challenges. And thank you also for making this local indigenous knowledge important beyond the local. I mean, this is really important effort. And I was wondering, because we are still fresh from Brussels and our roundtable on research challenges, where Lučka also contributed, she sent us some suggestions. And actually, we were thinking as a university network, maybe we could do something to defend local knowledge, promote your work, because I was very much impressed. There, Vula Tsetsi made us a very striking presentation of how things are running right now in European Parliament and European Commission, and it was not so optimistic. And I was thinking there is a lot of greenwashing around planting new trees. And there were some experts in forestry saying, we don't want to see everything covered with wood, of course. And there we are supposed to plant 3 billion trees. I don't know in how much years, but I was thinking maybe we could suggest in our report that we are preparing on these roundtables to point light on terraced landscapes, and that they matter. They are really something that people can understand, and they are not just accumulation of things, but accumulation of social, technological innovation. I mean, one of the main challenges of Europe is keeping biodiversity or in fostering it. And maybe not few notes, but a nice small chapter on terraced landscape should be part of our report. So thank you very much. It was really, really fundamental to hear your lecture. And I'm so proud that it's now part of Uniscape official lectures, online lectures. Thank you very much.
May I? Yeah.
Of course you can. Thank you very much, Sasha. You want to respond to that, Lucia?
I just want to inform you that I think about a year and a half ago, Timi, Maruja, and me, we have written a letter, 2 pages long, to the Slovenian Ministry of Agriculture, because we wanted to, exactly what you were telling, wanted to point out all those things, and there's something should be done in the new agricultural policy, which was at that time, and I think it has been just accepted. So,
good.
Yeah.
Great.
Good. Margarida, you wanted to come in.
Thank you very much for the presentations, very sensitive presentations. I would like to share just a little experience from Portugal. In the north of Portugal, in Douro Valley, we have the port wine production, and the port wine is so expensive that this region attracts young people. We don't have abandonment, but it's only economic issue. It's not so biodiversity. Of course, it's always water management, soil conservation a little bit, but no concern about biodiversity. It's just economic production, but it's successful. I like very much a word in Portuguese about these kind of landscapes. We talk about, we can build, landscape architects can build landscapes, but in these cases of terraces landscape, we talk about sculpture. They are really sculptures. And this means a lot of work to build and a lot of work to live and to work there. So I have a small question to Timi and Luchka. If are you discussing at ITLA, are you discussing about how to help these people? Are you talking about mechanization, talking about very small and high-powered machines to help these people to work in this kind of landscapes? Thank you.
Yes, there especially in the, let's say, wine and in wine industry and or wine production, also small production, they're using for transport the monorail, so they can go up and down. There's a lot of hand labor, but I was now in Cinque Terre a month ago, and the monorail is present to transport the grapes and other products, because they don't have only grapes, they have lemon and producing fruit, olives, etc. And in Japan, it's also, they have very small machines developed, and we had a Japanese expert in Peru at the ministry, and he was telling, let's try to produce a technology which fits to the terraces. Some is linked to solar energy, because you can collect energy, because in Peru, in the terraces, you have too much sun, so you could use it for some implements to help the production in the fields. But on the other hand, the construction of the terraces is always in the hands of stonemasons, and there is a capacity of really skilled labor to work this. So I think the Italian dry stone school, they have recognized the importance of training younger people to work on the stones and to reconstruct areas which are falling down, because there's a lot of work to do. And people who live with the terraces, they are feeling we have to do this work. They are not calculating how much is the investment. The government gives some financial support but this doesn't cover a cost of a company. But a company will not. I've seen terrible constructions where companies come and they put cement and boom, they bring it there, and this destroys the ecosystem, because these stone walls, they live with plants and small insects, animals, and which is necessary to keep this alive, and it's all working together, no? Luchka?
Yes, I can add a little bit. In the country where I come from, we can observe from 2012 already that there are schools of dry stone walling popping up, and that the local people are expressing interest. We want to learn that, and there are more and more participants every year. So this is not because they would earn money with that, but because they would like to, maintain the wall they have in their where they live, in their garden or in the field. And I think that's a very positive approach. And I think with this kind of approach, we can maintain terraced landscapes with dry stone slopes. Again, but not all terraces have a dry stone slope. Yeah? From the country where I come from Slovenia, only minority of terraced landscapes have a dry stone slope. The majority have a slope which is covered with earth. And there, mechanization is not necessarily a bad thing. You just need to know how to use it, properly use it. You are not, because some people use it, they are intervening in the slope too much, and then they cause instability in the slope. And I have to say that we have examples of terracing from 1960s and 1970s. It means that terraces were constructed in the slopes where they never existed before. And these are one of the most beautiful terraced landscapes that you can find. So I think it's hard to generalize. I think it's very good to take the good sides of the technology and to adapt it to what we really need, but also to be very alert on all the difficulties which that mechanization could bring for the terraced landscape. So I think one should keep a common sense using machinery.
Thank you for that. You've been very patiently waiting, Ugo, for us to bring you in. Can I ask you where you are joining us from?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Tianyu. I'm a PhD student from University of Göttingen. Yeah, my topic is on terraced landscape conservation, mainly about globally important agricultural heritage systems. So I'm super interested in this topic. So first time to meet you. So I joined or participate in the talk. As for the talk, many thanks to Dr. TILLMANN for your impressive presentation. For the question between the local knowledge system and global or universal knowledge system, how they interact with each other. I have one case from my study. May I share my screen for one short moment? Yeah, thanks. Can you see something? Yeah. Here is one case in my study in North China, dryland terraced stone landscape. You may see the photos here.
Yes.
Yeah. The local people use the indigenous knowledge to maintain their lands with donkey plowing, but unfortunately, in current days, young generation people go outside to find job, and people want freedom to be flexible, so they give up a lot of donkeys. 2010s, the local people introduced the machinery like the macro tiller to keep their lands same time with the vehicle, electrical power vehicle, to save the time from their home to their lands. Yeah, and the indigenous people or the local people, they bridge the global Western machinery knowledge with their indigenous knowledge. For example, in the middle or upper lands, they cannot transfer the macro tiller to their lands, and they also need to use donkey and the transportation tool to transfer the machinery like the macro tiller to keep plowing their lands. So they have their own method or their own way to weave the two knowledge systems. I hope this example could be an proof to support your idea. Yeah, that's what I want to share with you.
Absolutely, thank you for sharing. I mean, I think that this is one of the pieces of the jigsaw of the future of these systems, isn't it? Where the terraces are still in use, sharing that.
Yeah, thanks you. Yeah.